Happy Friday. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Bourbon Friday show. We're here live at T-Rex. So we're going to have a great show today. I'll be talking to a great startup and Ilerasoft and from St. Louis, Missouri. And so we're going to just have a great conversation. Nick, can you take it away?
I will. Yeah, I'll take it from here. So I'd like to welcome Melanie from Ilerasoft today. Thanks for joining us on the Bourbon Friday show. So to get into it right away, why don't you start off by telling us, what is Ilerasoft? What do you guys do?
Okay, so to start off with, Ilerasoft is a pan-West African word that means to be well. So I and my co-founder are of West African heritage, so we decided to name our company as such. And
Cool.
Because we're in the healthcare space, we just felt like it was fitting. So Ilerasoft, the software, ensures that medical devices are safe and they are utilized in the best way possible. So we do this by, one, having an advanced link system to hospitals' inventory management systems.
Okay.
And then from there, we're able to link it directly to the FDA as well as manufacturers, so that when it comes to recalls, alerts, notices, hospitals can get that information as expeditiously as it comes out,
Wow.
as well as being able to report all of that information back to the FDA in a very succinct and packaged way. And we also harness RTLS to understand how devices are being used. We take all of that data, bundle it into an efficiency score, and from that, we're able to understand granular utilization as well as how to really have cost savings. So we like to say we save lives and save money.
That is pretty amazing. It's a whole bunch of stuff that I probably cannot understand, but I'm going to try to today. So I think I remember it was probably about 6 months ago, I met Kwaku, your business partner, right? And he was telling me that this is something that really doesn't get talked about a lot, but that a lot of people actually end up losing their lives because of how some of this equipment is maintained and tracked. I mean, tell me what happens there. How does that happen?
Yeah, so the impetus for us even starting this organization was from an event that happened at my former role, where a patient died from a defective pacemaker.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Recall had happened over 2 years ago, but because of the system that we had that was in place, it didn't capture it.
Wait, so this guy had a pacemaker in him that had been recalled 2 years before this?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Yeah.
It's a significant problem.
Jeez, okay.
And because there's so much fragmentation in the healthcare system, it's very difficult to make sure that all of that information proliferates out. So with our software, we're eliminating that, right? And on the side of utilization, Kwaku was a healthcare consultant.
Okay.
And he saw a lot of inefficiency and waste around medical devices and saw that, this ballooning healthcare that we keep talking about, why is it so expensive? Well, there's ways to cut cost and make it more effective.
Okay, so that is a big thing that's in the news, is like how much more expensive our healthcare is, right? So it sounds like this is a big part of it, is that, so on the utilization side, you're saying that there's just a lot of equipment that I guess just kind of sits in one place and people don't even know it's there, maybe, or what happens exactly?
So it sits in one place, people don't know it's there, but there's still the operation expense that has to happen on it.
Okay.
So when you reduce your profile, when you reduce that, you reduce your operation expenses, as well as you start budgeting further, your capital expenses can reduce as well. Okay. So you're really attacking it from both ends with our software.
Gotcha. Cool. So I got to ask this. I mean, it's 2018. Like, how is the U.S. medical system not figured this stuff out already?
Well, we figured it out, and that's why we're here.
Did. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So I don't know. I always like to say there's in chaos there's opportunity. So
of course, yeah.
Once you identify how to fix that, just go for it.
Cool. So give me an example, right? So kind of thinking of maybe one specific device that's sitting in a hospital, like how do you guys track it? How are you able to better utilize it? Kind of give us a rundown there.
So a great example would be a ventilator, right? Which is used to help people assist in their breathing. It's a high risk device because it's helping you breathe. So if it shuts off,
that's important.
Or if exactly, if there's a safety issue with it, it could cause advanced disease state to the patient that's using it.
Gotcha.
So, and also with that, with understanding its utilization, there's ways to make sure that it's utilized effectively and correctly and not hoarded or stored in places where it can't be found. Because imagine having maybe 30 ventilators slated for a certain department, right?
Sure.
And because you're not able to find them, you just keep using the same ventilators over and over and over and over again.
And then they get worn out that much faster.
It's
sure.
significantly faster.
Okay.
Whereas there's a certain other amount that could have been used and also could have been spread out throughout the population to ensure that if there is a defect or an issue that happens, you can catch it in time and make sure that it's serviced okay.
Gotcha. So you said one word I heard there was hoarded. So is this a common thing? Like a certain department will hold on to equipment or something? Or what happens there?
Yes, because healthcare is riddled with like resource scarce, right?
Okay.
People always feel like there's not enough resources in terms of human capital, in terms of money, in terms of time, right? So people tend to hoard things. So our software changes that, right? Where you have visibility to what you actually have, and you also have an understanding of how you're actually using it. Okay. So now you don't have that sense of like, I have to hold on to this because I don't know if a patient comes onto my floor, whether I'll be able to have this equipment readily available for them. So
through your software, they're able to actually see, okay, I can have the confidence that it's going to show up in time, so to speak. Okay, very cool. So if, let's say a medical professional, or I guess, let me ask this first, who is your customer? So who in the medical community do you guys sell to?
Yeah, so our customers are hospitals and health systems.
Okay.
Yep. So that's our direct customer. Our secondary customer are medical device manufacturers.
Okay.
Yep.
So if one of those people who can make a decision to buy your software is watching this, how would they get in touch with you, or what does that process look like?
Yeah, so that process is reaching out to me, Melanie Igwe.
Okay.
I'm the Chief Commercial Officer. And we would just set up a meeting, really drill down to understand the pains and what is necessary for your organization to make sure your devices are safe, and they can be well used for your patients, as well as understanding how could there be cost savings from the devices, as well as the operational expenses that you're seeing from your equipment right now as well.
Cool. Okay. So there's a financial reason and a humanitarian reason, so to speak, to do this. Okay. And are there any medical systems or hospitals out there that wouldn't need this, that may have already found a solution, or is this so widespread that everybody should talk to you guys?
It's very rampant.
Okay. So just give you a call.
Yeah, give us a call. Definitely. If you want to save lives and save money, give Ilerasoft a call.
Cool. Well, thanks. So this kind of concludes our interview portion of the show, and I really appreciated learning more about Ilerasoft. Obviously, you guys are doing very impressive things, so I'm excited to see where the company continues to grow from here. So I'm going to pass it back over to Christian, who's going to introduce our panel topic for today.
Yes, thank you so much, really, for just like sharing about your startup. I know there's some people here that may be like wanting to start a startup, but they don't know how. They may be like, hey, like I want to raise capital, and they just don't know what to do. So we know that you've raised capital. So can you first talk to us about like what is capital, and just like how do you actually raise it? So.
Okay, cool. So that's an interesting way of looking at it, because there's a difference, right, between capital and resources.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I think before you even seek capital, you should understand the resources that you have and try to bolster those and really understand your business. And then once you understand those things, then you can look to raise capital.
Yeah.
Because it's the other shoe that you need to have. Like
so what do you mean? Like, you elaborate on resources? What
so I think a lot of people jump to like, oh, you definitely need money to operate a company. Like that's necessary.
Yeah, sure.
But you also need soft and hard skills to operate and be effective in a company as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
Especially starting something that you, if you have never started a company, you need to know how to sell. You need to know how to market. You need to understand your finances and budgeting and different things like that. So I think cultivating those resources will then drive to help you understand what is the capital that you're actually going to need for each of the stages that you are in your company.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah,
and what are the stages? Like, what are the stages of
we're about 14 months old, so we're still in like seed stage. So there's seed stage, there's Series A, Series B, Series C. Some people even go to Series D, right?
Yeah. The big guys at
exactly.
that point. Yeah. Uber
And pretty, exactly. Or I mean, you're about to IPO, so which is
sure.
initial public offering. But yeah, so that's where we are right now because of where we are, the amount of traction that we have, and how we're trying to position ourselves to scale for that next round.
Gotcha. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that that's one thing I've noticed about a lot of people that kind of get curious about starting a business is that, and it's because of the media. I think it's so much about capital raised, right? Like a lot of startups, like you've never heard about them, all of a sudden they raise $1 million, they're in the news, and that's a big deal for them. So you talk about, looking at these resources first and then kind of getting to a point where you're ready to raise money. For somebody who is just getting into the industry, they're seeing these articles and they're thinking, oh man, it's all about raising money, right? I guess what for you, and I know you're kind of a tech startup and generally you're going to need money to do anything in tech, but was there a certain amount you were able to get done before you started looking for money, or was that part of the plan all from day one?
Yeah, so we were really fortunate because our company we were Arch Grants recipients, so we were able to get $50,000 of non-dilutive funding, which is
a good deal.
Yeah, it was super helpful. We were able to get our MVP off the ground and really start to use that to prove it out in the market. So there are ways like that. There are a program like Arch Grants or SBIRs or STTRs if you're like a high value technology. So there's other ways to raise capital without giving up equity.
Yeah. There's credit cards, right?
Yeah,
I've done
there's
that.
there's bootstrapping.
Sure.
Yeah, there's definitely family and friends. I owe a lot to my family because they definitely financially helped me out, especially over our last 12 months as we were looking to secure more capital. But we had to figure out what it is that we needed. So what did we need to grow our team to really get it to that next stage? So that would require developers, right? We have like 4 full-time developers as well as a full-time project lead. We needed that. We needed to understand like our sales process. We needed to understand marketing. We needed to understand traveling because like when you're an early stage company, you need to be everywhere. And social media is not just going to do it. Like you have to go and have FaceTime.
Network, right?
Right. Yep. And that requires for you to like leave, like you have to travel, so and that requires money. So kind of segmenting out what is it that you need to have and what are the people or resources or tools that you need to have in place should then drive the kind of raise that you do.
Cool. So Christian, I have a question for you. I mean, you're kind of the newest of the 3 companies here at the table, right? So do you have plans for trying to raise money, or what are you kind of looking at down the road?
Yes. So we are going after we're applying for Arch Grants. Yes, this year. So really excited about that. But one thing is what we focused on was becoming just revenue driven and really focused on really getting customers and also understanding the processes of who is our customer?
Exactly.
What's our value proposition? All those things, and then what resources do we need? Like what do we have to get to go to the next stage?
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at with our company, and it's super exciting to be able to watch people like Melanie and start to just take her lead and I now am looking up to Melanie and people like her where I can learn from and ask advice from. That's why it's really awesome to be at spaces like T-Rex, where we build relationships.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity to kind of find mentors here and see different models too, which I think is interesting. Because I think for us, like we haven't raised any money, we're very much revenue, driven or bootstrapped or whatever you want to call it. But certain tech companies, obviously, you can't do that, right? I mean, and I think that would be interesting to hear a little bit about is, the fact that it's basically impossible to start a tech company without money, right?
Yeah, it is. And especially depending on the space and the industry, right?
Sure.
Like we're in healthcare and the average sales cycle for a hospital is 6 to 12 months. Wow. And then when you get even larger, you could be talking 18 months to almost 2 years. So Granted, the contracts are very, very large, and they the duration of time is very long as well.
Sure.
So that's great, but the energy and effort that it takes to get there is lengthy.
Oh yeah.
So you need some money to kind of fuel you through that.
And
but
speaking,
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But I think what you said is very, very, very important is in these initial steps, understanding product market fit, understanding who is your primary, secondary, tertiary customer, and then understanding, if we're here, where do we want to go, and what are good pivots?
Yeah,
because people kind of frown on pivots. So
we're all about pivots.
yes.
I think I've pivoted several times in the past few years.
So one thing I like national conversation right now is like diversity and entrepreneurship and access to capital. You as being a minority woman in business, like how's that experience been for you, and what challenges have you seen, and like how do you think that our ecosystem in the startup world can grow from here?
So I will say that I think there are huge proponents of inclusivity and diversity in this St. Louis ecosystem. I'm going to shout out Dr. Watkins Moore of BioSTL and BioGenerator. She has been incredible in terms of helping us. We actually, in the amount of money that we've raised, we went to an accelerator that was geared towards minority and women founders. So we were able to raise $100,000 from that, and then we have a private angel. So I do think that the narrative of people of color or women not being able to raise funding is going to start changing. It is still difficult. It's difficult for anyone to raise money. I mean, think about it. You're literally asking someone to give up either going on vacation with their family or getting a boat to give it to you. So you always have to think about things like that. But also, I think that's why it's really important to understand where are your deficits, where do you need to grow, so that when you go into those conversations with investors or even customers, they believe in you and they want to invest in you.
Yeah, because people do business with people. Right. So yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Really pleasure.
Thank you, Melanie.
Yeah. This was great. So see you guys next week. Nick, do you want to close it out? Anything you want to say?
I mean, I can do the closing if you like. Sure, why not? So I guess I will say that we do live stream every Friday at 4:30. We are thinking about changing that to 4 o'clock to make it a little bit easier to see us before you commute home. So please comment, let us know if you'd prefer 4 o'clock or 4:30. That'd be definitely helpful. And we are here at Bourbon Friday. This is T-Rex. We're coming to you live from T-Rex. We're supported by EQ and the EQ Media Lab here at T-Rex, and I'd like to shout out Vanessa Lobo, my business partner, who does all of our production. So she's behind the camera, making sure we look good and sound good. So we definitely appreciate that. So next Friday at either 4 or 4:30. Let us know which one you want to see, and we will see you then. Thanks for tuning in.